Hello! So the moon is in Capricorn and Mars just entered Libra. First things first. So yesterday and for the next day, moon has been in Capricorn and will be in Capricorn. Overall, this is a really nice flow. The sun and the moon are both in an earth energy. It's easy to set goals and to reach them, to clock in, to stay focused. I think focusing on our career and developing our professional skills is certainly a major theme with this sun and this moon. And even though it's going to come and go very quickly, it's good to stay focused, because what we can get done during this time has some really good far-reaching consequences. So for Wednesday, it's really good to just continue on and stay focused with whatever it is that we need to stay focused on, and the first part of Thursday as well. As always, even though there's positives and there's negatives with every single energy, with every single transit. And so even though overall I see that this is a pretty nice flow for all of us of being able to clock in, get stuff done, move forward, especially professionally, but really with anything that needs practical attention in our lives, naturally we want to be mindful of what could be possibly challenging so that we get in that flow and things don't coagulate and become stagnant and difficult to handle. The obvious challenge here, I think, with Moon in Cap and Venus in Scorpio transits that we're all experiencing is to get caught up in our emotions in a negative sense, or to turn off from our emotions. We want to make sure that we're not fixating or obsessing about anything. We're not worried. As I always like to say, there's really no need for worry in life. It's more a matter of being concerned. Okay, what do I need to focus on? What do I need to handle? Okay, that's good. Even if we're thinking about something for a long period of time and we're trying to figure out, and we're not necessarily looking for action right away, that's still concern. It's not worry. Worry is when we're like, oh God, we're just blowing stuff out of proportion and we're getting carried away. I think especially because we have Mercury and now Mars in Libra, it's very easy with the Mercury Libra in particular to get caught up in the abstract and worrying about things that are not right here, right in front of us, especially having to do with relationships. This is a time period, actually, just kind of looking at a broad picture here, this is a time period that's really good to be, naturally for all of us, we're focused on our relationships because Mercury is in Libra. So what we're communicating, what we're eager to listen about, we're seeking to make connection with other people. And now that Mars has gone into Libra, that connection is expanded into working alongside other people. But let's finish that other thought first before we go into that. Focusing on other people is only good if it's done in moderation. As much as we may love our loved ones, etc., they are not the sum total of our life experience here on Earth. Of course, they're incredibly important to us, of course, but I think that's something that could be really helpful to keep in perspective during this time, and reminding ourselves this, because with Mercury in Libra and Venus in Scorpio, it can be really tempting to fixate on our relationships and worry. Again, worry is like one of those keywords, or to become a paranoid, obsessive, etc. We really need to keep these things in perspective. Something that we didn't cover in the last video about Venus and Scorpio is Venus is going to be it already is, and will continue to be opposite Uranus and Taurus majorly for about the next week and a half, but we're going to be seeing it throughout this entire transit. I don't know the exact date off the top of my head of when Venus goes into Sagittarius, but it's going to be about 2.5 weeks from now, something like that. So it's a very quick transit, but this is a transit that is going to make a transformation in terms of our relationships is key. And of course, this also has to do with transformation as per ourselves in relation to our emotions, in relation to our relationships. With transiting Venus opposite transiting Uranus, this is something we experience every year, and for the last couple of years, and for the next several years, for the next about 4 or 5 years, we have experienced, and we will be experiencing exactly what we're experiencing right now, which is this transit of Venus opposite Uranus, specifically Venus and Scorpio opposite Uranus and Taurus. What this means, this transit for all of us, for now and the near future, is our relationships are able to go deeper if they are truly meant to be there for us in the long term. And if they're not, then they will go through a rebirth and we will be reborn on the other side without that relationship, or with a less placed importance on it in our lives. There's no need to ever worry. There's no need to ever worry about anything. But I think this is something that's really good to turn our conscious minds to, of, okay, what relationships in my life are causing me stress? Or what relationships in my life do I feel like I've outgrown? This is a time period where naturally the flow is to let go of what we don't need in terms of our relationships, which could mean the relationship itself, but also could mean on a lesser scale, because naturally it doesn't mean that we're going to be letting go of our relationships. Again, there's no need to ever worry with these things. Some people get like, wait, what? We have to let go of relationships? Like, not if they're good for you, not if they're meant to be there for you. It's okay. It's all good. It's all good. It's all cool. But even for really good relationships, this is a time where we're looking at, okay, what needs to change? What is difficult? I don't, as people know who've watched my videos for a long time, I don't like to go into my personal life too much because it's not fair to, friends and family. But just offering as a anonymous anecdote, I have one particular relationship in my life that has been causing me a lot of stress. I mean, and I think this is the key, is it's all building up. So it's building up over time. So there's nothing to, it's not like this is necessarily going to come out of nowhere. As long as we have some kind of measure of conscious awareness about our own emotions and our relationships, right? So this has been building up for even like months, if not like almost a year. And there's a certain transformation that needs to occur for a really close friend of mine, for our relationship to continue to be as good as it has been, and to continue to grow, indeed, to transform to even better manifestations of itself. But it's a very intense conversation that's needed. It's a very difficult conversation that's needed. Quite frankly, I don't even know if it's gonna happen over the next couple of weeks. But I think, again, as we talked about with the last transit video with Venus and Scorpio, when we first went into this Venus and Scorpio is kind of the first, it's like the pioneer, it's the first scout for Scorpio energy that we're going to be really majorly experiencing for the next like 2 months, as Mars goes into Scorpio eventually, but even before then, when Mercury goes there and when the Sun goes there. So this is a good time to really be preparing for any kind of major changes that we need in terms of our relationships, as well as preparing ourselves to be able to embark upon those changes. Like I was saying, that conversation is very much needed. I know for a fact it will happen at some point over the next 2 months, most likely at the end of November is what my intuition tells me. But I'm preparing for it now, because again, this Venus and Scorpio opposite the Uranus and Taurus, it's a major theme. So for all of us, it's really good to look at our relationships, not least of which, now segueing, because we have Mars in Libra now. Mars in Libra, there's so many great things about it, but this too is a bit of a challenging energy. We have as I always like to put it, this is a rough energy. I look at it as rough, smooth, and neutral, not like positive, negative, and neutral. There are beautiful gifts that only Mars in Libra has to offer, that only Venus and Scorpio has to offer, that Moon in Capricorn. Again, just like we were talking about, that Venus and Scorpio is serving me really well and serving all of us really well in some parallel manner, but it's serving me really well in figuring out, okay, what needs to change in my relationships for the future, for goodness for all of us, and of course, we need to focus on our own needs first and foremost, not excluding other people's needs. Of course, some people might get that a little twisted during this time, but focusing on, okay, what do I need, and also if I satisfy this need, will it help other people as well? Oh wow, even better. Okay, cool. That means that this relationship is on the right path. Beautiful. But yeah, that Mars in Libra is one of those challenging energies. And so it's rough, and then we can access the incredible gifts that only it has to offer. So the challenge here, I think, seeing with all these energies, and yeah, especially for tomorrow as well, but we're really looking ahead to the next couple of weeks here. The challenge with Mars in Libra and these energies is to not express things, to focus on harmony to the detriment of actual cohesion, actual cooperation, actual being able to understand each other and to communicate things that are not right, that are difficult, that are challenging with the relationship or how the relationship is functioning. Mars in Libra is one of those energies that tends to bury. It's really one of the two main ones, although you could say that there's 4 Mars energies in general, that tends to bury conflict instead of deal with it. It's not fun. This isn't to say like, oh, then we should enjoy conflict. That's really, I mean, some people do, but most people really don't. They don't enjoy it at all. And yet it's a necessary part of life, and we have to voice the dissenting opinion. We have to voice the different perspective. We have to say, this isn't right. We're not good. We need to talk. This is really important to do, because if we don't, which is challenging enough with Mars and Libra in general, if we don't, then the transiting Venus and Scorpio will get really, really intense in a negative way. We'll get very resentful. We'll get very angry. We'll shut off. We will shut off affection to the other person. We'll get bothered in general. So all in all, it's just like it creates a domino effect of things that are not really healthy, and especially for tomorrow too, with the transiting Moon and Cap, it can snowball very quickly and become very difficult. And all of a sudden, instead of just handling this one issue that, quite frankly, as much as it was uncomfortable or awkward, really was manageable to some extent, at least, now has blossomed into this big thing, because now we are not doing our job to be able to communicate to other people and to let them know when something is bothering us, and how we can at least try and find a solution with them, if not have a solution beforehand to suggest. We need to communicate, we need to get this stuff out there. So I know it's not fun, I know it can be awkward, but that's something that's really important to keep in mind, really, over the next 6 weeks, because we have the Mars in Libra, and again, we have all this other Scorpio going on, and I think especially for the next 2 weeks, because not only do we have the Mars in Libra during this time, we also have the Venus in Scorpio. So just know that conflict can be, actually, for relationships that are meant to last, it's a really good thing, because it gets people to be honest and vulnerable, and when there's a space in both people's minds and hearts for each other to be able to honor that vulnerability and to not pounce on it or not punish the person for opening up, and to actually listen and consider what they're saying, then the relationship grows as a whole and it all gets better. And if there isn't that space or time made by the other person with whom you're trying to find a better mutual understanding and work through things, then that person, quite frankly, at least right now, but probably long term as well, that's something that you'll have to find out for yourself, but at least for the short term, they really shouldn't be in your sphere. It's going to be really difficult. As long as you're being rational yourself and reasonable, then it's going to be very difficult to be around somebody who you try to voice what's bothering you, and it's not, it's not clicking, it's not working. And that's a beautiful thing, ultimately, if it's meant to be, that it's not meant to be, if the relationship is not meant to be, then you can find during this time some pretty good signs of, we're not understanding each other. Again, it's really important to not oversimplify things, to not just look at this transit and then assume, okay, it must not function. But with transiting Venus, opposite transiting Uranus, I think this is a time period over the next couple of weeks where this is kind of a make or break moment in a lot of ways. Again, we have a lot of Scorpio ahead of us, and this could just be one part of it, but this could be a crucial part as per the relationship for the next couple of weeks of what's functioning, what's not, and how do we deal with that. So it's good to speak directly, don't be passive aggressive, and don't bury it. I think that's some of the best stuff, especially since we have Sun and Mars. That conjunction is getting closer and closer over the next 9 days. About 9 days from now, it'll be directly conjunct down to the degree, but even where it is right now, it's very conjunct. So it's going to be really hard to be passive aggressive. Even when you try to be passive aggressive, there's still an aggressiveness to it with this kind of energy, and that's a good thing. It's forcing us to deal with things, it's forcing us to handle things. Again, be patient. That's something that's really important. As always, I'm doing readings. Feel free to get into contact with me in the About section. Infinite love to you, my friends. Namaste. Peace.